Hey y'all, this video is going to cover an important step in the design development process, making sure your flats and your figures are showcasing the same exact design. Okay, so whether you start designing on the flat or whether you start designing on the figure, I'm going to show you some ways to make sure that they look like they are the same garment. Because the last thing you want to hear from your boss or from your teacher or from your pattern maker or anybody is, hey, so are we doing the thing on the figure sketch or the flat sketch? And, when you have your first 3D in fabric sample made up, you want to make sure that it lives up to the expectations you had in your mind. Things we need today are our flats on tracing paper and the flat template that we use to create said flats. Marker paper. Sometimes I use photocopy paper, ditto paper. You're going to need a croquis and you're going to need your markers. I grab my swatches and I grab my markers and I test out colors to match up pretty closely as I can. And I pick shadow colors and I label everything. Since these are quick design croquis, it's okay if the colors are not a perfect match. You'll get the perfect match for your final renderings. All right, so I'm going to show you how I take my existing flats and put them on a figure. And if you follow my process, you can just do the opposite for figure to flat. It's the same thing. Okay? So I take my croquis, slide it under my marker paper, and I grab my flats and my flat template. And, this is reason number 713 why I do my flats on tracing paper. So I can do this. I layer them on top of my flat template. I check my proportions and I translate those proportions onto the body. So this dress hits just below the knee and this coat hits just above the knee. That's how I designed it on the flat. And so I'm translating those proportions onto my figure illustration. And you do this the opposite if you are starting with the figure. Okay, you see where the hem of your skirt hits on your figure and you translate that to your flats. And you're like, why is this a big deal, Zoe? Okay, here's the deal. Your flats template should reflect real body proportions. So, 7.5, 8 head figure, realistic proportions that translate to your sample size, whether your sample size is a 6 or you do a plus size line and your sample size is an 18 or 20, whatever it is, your flat template should reflect your sample size. Your fashion figure, you can have fun with the proportions. You can do a more realistic figure like an 8 head figure, or you can do a 10 head figure like the one I'm demoing on right now. But the proportions need to translate, not literally the numbers, okay? I don't want you to sit there and measure the sleeve with the ruler and try to get it the same length on the figure. Okay, that is tedious and inaccurate. You need the correct proportions. So you think about, where does the sleeve hem hit in proportion to the torso, the body of the coat? Okay? How wide are the lapels? And how far down do they go on the coat? So it's all about proportions. Like, this ends about halfway down and the neckline of this dress hits the center of her breasts. And so that should be where it is on the figure as well. Back and forth, so that they look like the same garment to everyone. Getting the proportions right on a garment is a big deal, and getting the proportions right on an outfit can really sell it or kill it. And think about when you go shopping and you try on a skirt and you're like, the hem on this skirt is hitting my calves in a weird place that makes me look really stumpy, and then you don't buy it, right? Or you've put together the perfect outfit and the skirt that you have, the fabric is awesome and it goes with all the other colors you have going on in your outfit, but it's a mini and that is not the look you were going for that day. And maybe if it was a little bit longer, then the proportions with the jacket and everything would have been perfect. Okay, color and proportions. Those are the first things that people generally see in an outfit. So yeah, proportions, huge deal. As I mentioned before, these are not final renderings, but quick sketches for the design development process. So I'm drawing a little bit looser than I normally would. And even if these were final renderings, I don't put in every single thing in the underdrawing. Now I'm just mapping things out loosely, getting the basic shapes, because most of the underdrawing is going to be covered in marker anyway. In this demo, I'm putting in a little bit more detail than I normally would, just to show you guys how the designs are translating onto the figure. I'm drawing loosely here on the figure, but not so loosely that it looks vague. You know, the decisions are deliberate, like where I'm putting the little quilting, you know, it's right at the knee with a knee seam because it's going to be leather, and the direction of the quilting, like those are explicit, even though the drawing style is kind of loose. The flats, however, are as precise as I can possibly get. Okay, I draw 1/2 with a very skinny mechanical pencil and a ruler, and if it's a symmetrical garment, I just fold it over and copy it exactly. And even if it's not a symmetrical garment, usually the shape of it is symmetrical. Like if it's a one-shoulder dress, usually the only thing that's asymmetrical is just the shoulder, and the bodice is symmetrical. So I will copy the bodice and then just draw the one shoulder by itself. Okay, so all the parts that would be symmetrical, I draw the exact copy with the folded tracing paper so that I can, again, be as exact as possible. You know, this is a video demo tutorial, and so, you know, yeah, I am putting in a little bit more effort than I normally would. So I'm putting in some skin tone and I'm gonna slap down a shadow tone. But when I'm in the process, a lot of the time I don't put down any skin tone or hair, much less a shadow, because that part is really not that important. The times that I do make sure I slap down a skin tone are, one, when I'm doing shears. Okay, you want to show that skin tone so that it's obvious that it's a sheer garment or a sheer section. Or two, when I'm designing a lot of whites. Okay, and I know you can shadow the white so it looks like a white garment, but it really clarifies the proportions and everything on the design if you slap a little skin tone down. So in those two instances, I do make sure. Otherwise, you know what, I got time for that. These are quick sketches. But every single marker tutorial, paint tutorial I've done, you know, I remind you guys to get in the habit of using your strokes to help you. And always render in the direction. Pay attention to the direction of the texture, of the grain, of the hair. Okay, so little bits of goldenrod marker for hair, it's still going in the direction hair grows. And I'm slapping down this marker super fast, but I'm still going in the direction of the grain so it doesn't fight the look. Really slapdashing some fuzzy short strokes for the fur, but because I have that broken line silhouette that I'm always harping on and on and on about in my fur video, it gives the impression of the fur in like 2 seconds. So again, I wouldn't normally bother with shadow tones if I'm working on a super tight deadline. Although I do like it, it doesn't take that much time for me because I've practiced so much, and it really does help the design look better when it looks like it's really on a body and everything looks 3D. Again, perfection is not our goal. Our goal is an accurate representation of the design that is in your head and the design that is on the flat and on the figure, all coming together and agreeing with one another. Okay, the concept in your head, the flat sketch, and your quick sketch on the figure, they should all be the same thing. Right? That's the goal. Students ask me all the time, is it really important for designers to draw really well? No. People are like, you're a drawing teacher, Zoe. How can you say that? Won't you be out of a job? Trust me, people will want to learn how to draw forever. I'm fine. But seriously, designers, they don't need to learn how to draw beautifully, majestically, fabulously. Okay? Not everyone needs to moonlight as an illustrator like I have done in my career. The reason why I think that it's important for designers to learn how to draw a little bit, okay? Not amazingly. We don't all need to be Bill Donovan. Scratch that. There can only be one Bill Donovan because he is that amazing, but whatever. The point is, designers need to be able to communicate their ideas clearly in a non-verbal form. That is the sole necessity of sketching skills in a designer. Okay? Anything beyond that is gravy. Wonderful. Amazing. Okay? But the bare minimum for designers is to be able to communicate their ideas to the world outside their head. A lot of you have had this experience where you have an idea in your head and you're trying to explain it to a teacher, a colleague, a friend, somebody. And they're just looking at you blankly because your words aren't that great. They speak a different language. You're so excited, words aren't coming out right, something, right? But if you sketched it out, you know, they'll be like, oh, I see what you mean. And then at that point, your friend, colleague, teacher, boss can say, yeah, that is a great idea. Or, yeah, no, that is a terrible idea. Yeah. You will get both answers in the course of your career. But hey, at least you're getting that answer based on an accurate representation of what was going on in your head, and not just because they didn't understand what the hell you were talking about. At this stage, you know, I'm putting in the design details with a soft 2B pencil and punching out the silhouettes and the design details that are important. And I'm not giving too much thought into rendering specific textures like I would if they were final, but I am putting in the really obvious textures like rib knit and fur. Okay? But everything else is kind of like, you know, you're going to put these together with your fabric swatches, and so you're just getting the gist of the idea so that you can put all these design croquis together and edit and cut them apart and re-merchandise into different outfits and, you know, all that good stuff, right? And, you know, your design development sketches can be a little bit less finished than these, but keep in mind that you do need to show off enough detail so that you are reading the design correctly. Okay? Just because these are quick sketches doesn't mean you can do vague shapes. Remember, the point of these is proper design communication. So yeah, Throw in a little bit of that rib knit. Make sure you're getting crinkles, and if you have a big floppy sweater like the one that's started from the left, you know, put in some drape so it looks like a boxy sweater. Okay. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button, that thumbs up button. Share with your colleagues so that your entire design team can be better at being design communicators. And subscribe if you are interested in seeing more video tutorials like this one. Whenever I do a time lapse, people ask me how long it took, you know, in real time for me to do the final. The raw footage for this video, including demonstrating the materials I'm using today, and there was a bathroom break in there somewhere, was 45 minutes. And yeah, I get that it's fast, and do me a favor, especially those of you who are just getting started. Do me a favor and do not compare yourself to me. Not that I'm putting myself on a pedestal, but you have to remember that I have been drawing for decades. I have been drawing since I was 5 years old. I have been drawing for decades. And those of you who have been drawing for a year, 3 years, 6 months, 10 years, yeah, I have decades on you guys. So don't sit there and be like, why don't I draw like Zoe? It's fine, okay? You just need more practice, okay? Hashtag always be practicing. Hashtag practice not magic. Hashtag if your first one sucks, you're right on track. So go get to work. Stop comparing yourself to people who have been working in the industry for years and years and years and years and years. And I will see you in the next video.